Yes!
Actually great.
Oh my God!
Race fans, good day. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty well because look where I'm hanging out. Let's zoom in to beautiful British Columbia, Canada. We're at Sun Peaks Resort. We're right smack dab in the middle of an epic mountain bike road trip. What is Crankworx all about? It's all about finding those best bike parks in the world and then bringing the best riders in the world there to compete. We're gonna get in the car, we're gonna drive to Kicking Horse, we're gonna do that tomorrow. We're gonna have some more events coming from there next week. And then to finish things off, we'll zip on over to Silver Star Mountain Resort. We're even gonna have a slope style over there. In the next 10 days, we've got 9 different competitions between 6 different disciplines, and we're gonna get a whole lot of riding in here. My name's Cam McCall. I'm gonna be your host today, and I'm lucky enough to be joined by the man himself right here, Elliott Jackson. Elliott, what up? You're here, man. We missed you the last couple of days. Welcome.
The last time I was doing this with you, I was in my living room last year, and now I'm in this amazing place. We have this incredible view, and I get to see in person.
I know. After last summer, we were hanging out in our garages. You were in your living room. I was in my garage, and we were completely wishing we were at Sun Peaks Resort because look at your screen right there. This place goes forever. You hop on that lift. That's a fall summit, by the way. It just keeps on going. 2,000 vertical feet of trail, 65 kilometers of trail, and some of the most challenging terrain you could ask for, but also some of the most fun and flowy terrain. Today, we're going to be focusing our attention on that challenging terrain because it's all about downhill racing. And, you know, it wouldn't be a downhill race if we didn't have Elliott right here. You fresh off of the World Cup circuit. I'm sure you had a good time. You did a great job. And I feel lucky to have you here today.
Oh, well, the feeling's mutual. I feel like I talked to a ton of the riders, and they were all saying how much they enjoy the track. Like, I think at a World Cup, you enjoy the track, but it's you get in the gate, you're kind of nervous, and here it's beautiful. It's like much more flowy, like just one of those places that you really love to ride.
The riders are going to be enjoying themselves out on that track, and we are lucky enough to be able to watch them, and that's going to inspire our rides. We can't wait to hop on our bike. I hope you feel the same. And now to kind of vicariously live through these riders, let's hop on board for the course preview with Tegan Cruz and Bas van Steenbergen.
Hey, I'm Bas van Steenbergen.
Hi, Tegan Cruz.
We're here in Sun Peaks for your Crankworx downhill course preview.
Dropping in. Here with Bas van Steenbergen, local. Woo. Big contender for the King of Crankworx.
All right. This section will still be insanely fast during the race.
Nice rock roll. Do another one.
Gotta get your braking points dialed.
Very slippery out here today.
Ow. Oh man, my GoPro is so dirty. You definitely have to get your lines really dialed. Hop. And it speeds back up again. This corner will be quite critical.
Nice double. Oh, fast at the inside. Oh, little offline. Nice big old berm.
It's a sick berm, and the track is so good. Definitely one of my favorites. And here it funnels into this pretty
Do a steep shoot. Pretty tight section.
and into this fast lower section. more bike parking through here, but then it gets technical in a minute again. Outside. And this section's so fast. And there she is.
I love how they're not afraid to talk us through the course right there. And if we can learn a couple of things for that, it's that they're not afraid to talk to us while running the course. And we can learn that there was some rain a couple days ago, but Elliott, it doesn't look like that out here right now, does it?
No, I think it's probably the most perfect conditions you can ever have. You know, it's funny because this was one of the first bike parks that I rode back in 2010. And when you watch people ride this track, that's how it feels like. There's all these little things that you're trying to pump and get speed off of. So I think when we're watching the race, that's what we're looking for, is like how smooth are the riders, making sure that people aren't, you know, braking too late into the corners, just really trying to like hold the flow. It should look fun. I think like here, fun is fast.
Yeah, I mean, the conditions are great, fun is fast, and this course offers up a lot of fast. And the dirt here, it holds moisture really well. As you can see, they could ride the course in the middle of a rainstorm, and it's still ripping, but it you know, doesn't get too muddy to ride, and then it holds that moisture pretty well even after a day of sunshine. And so I don't really think you could ask for better conditions coming into the race right now. And from that course preview, you heard Tegan Cruz say, all right, we're following Bas van Steenbergen, a big contender for the king of Crankworx overall. And man, at that point in time, he didn't even know how true that was, because
Yeah.
Bas had a heck of a day yesterday. For a little bit of a recap of how Bas's day went, take a look at this. So aside from how fun it was to watch that recap, we had some results at the end right there that you could see. Bas van Steenbergen, top of the list for the men, but we didn't see the times right there. He was 7.5 seconds ahead of second place.
I don't understand. Like, everyone is so fit, so good at riding these jumps and things like that, and Bas just has this way of being able to scrub, land at the very top, kind of combine the perfect BMX and mountain bike skills for those air DH races. It's crazy.
It is crazy. And for the women's category, you saw that Via Berbich took the win. That was her second win for the day. Bas and Via both won slalom and air DH yesterday. But Casey Brown just a half a second behind Via, taking second place for the women. We're going to have both of them on course here. For the Crankworx Downhill Sun Peaks women's category, we're running reverse order from the results that we had from Air DH last night. So we'll see Danielle Beecroft. She took second place in the slalom yesterday, didn't race the Air DH, so she'll be starting off the field in our Sun Peaks Downhill today. And as we work through the field here, we will end with Via Berbich, who's just been collecting those points. She has a sizable lead in the Queen standings right now.
Yeah, we just have such a diverse group of women, some free riders, some Junior World Cup women. We have Casey, who's doing everything you could possibly imagine on a bicycle.
Yeah.
But it's great to see. I love Crankworx for that. You get all different disciplines and all different styles of riders competing at the same time.
So, like, you could compare these two to other power couples in other industries, but Bass and Via, it's pretty mental what they're able to do right now. I don't know what they were doing for their training routine, but it seems to have been working, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was like trying to think of like what's the name? Is it Vass or Baya?
Baya. Baya and
I like
Vass,
that
yeah.
one better.
It's like a Benefer type of thing. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to gather some more points in the race today, or if the rest of the field will capitalize on this opportunity to narrow the gap. But you can't beat Bass in those berms, and that's where Via really, has some strengths as well. But Via, no slouch in the downhill. So here's what she was doing in the slalom. She was going up against Danielle Beecroft there. They're both riding pretty big bikes. Beecroft going for the full downhill rig, Via going for the trail bike. And Via was the #1 qualifier, strong all the way through all the rounds. We saw Keelani Hines right there in 3rd place. And Keelani, I believe she had 4th place in the Air DH, so we're going to see her later on in the field. But you also mentioned in the women's field a whole lot of free riders as well, which is so exciting to see. There's a big free ride movement for the women right now. So we've got names like Harriet Burbich Smith, Robin Gooms, Cami Noguera, all racing downhill out there. We had a lot of them racing slalom as well. So like you say, a super diverse field. And downhill, it's really going to be tough for those riders who are from different disciplines to do well in downhill. You can kind of make that happen in slalom, some of the other disciplines, maybe air DH, but today it's all about the purebred downhill racers we're going to expect to see do well.
Yeah, I think so. And I love that this track kind of can suit some of that. Like I mentioned, the pumping. And so the riders with BMX background, think of Harriet, like she'll be able to make up time. Each person will kind of have their section. You have gnarly sections, you have pedally sections, you have super fast sections. So each person can kind of take the track, make it their own, and make up time where they feel the best.
Yeah, long track as well. So expect to see guys like Mick Hanna. He's on the start list. Expect to see him doing well. This would be right up his alley, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is his last year on the World Cup circuit. I know he'll be around. He loves downhill more than anything.
And so do we. So why waste any more of your time? Let's watch some downhill. We got the women's category kicking off right now. And I believe if our start list was correct, we will see Danielle Beecroft. There she is in the start hut. Good day for her yesterday, looking to add and carry that momentum here today in downhill.
I mean, Danielle's just always so chill, doing her own thing, riding downhill bikes in slalom, which I think she had some success in a couple of years ago in slalom, and just kind of cruising through one bike, no problem.
Yeah, 2018, she took the win in Whistler. And I mean, that's the trusty steed for her right there, downhill. She runs it in the slalom. Of course, she's now didn't have to get used to another bike today for downhill.
Yeah. And you see, I think, like, I mentioned fun is fast here, so you really want to look for the riders just flowing a lot. You're not going to see people being like super, super aggressive, because anytime you're aggressive, you have your tires sliding and stuff like this. This is that most kind of the gnarliest bit, most technical bit on the track.
It is a funny thing, right? You know, you're racing, you're trying to like hold traction, but when you're out riding for fun, you're looking for those moments where you lose traction and then regain, and that's what the most fun is. But that's why it's so interesting to watch downhill, is because you're seeing these top athletes in the world push themselves to their limit. They're trying to keep that tire stuck to the ground, but every once in a while, boom, you get that big roost and makes you want to hop on your own bike. There we go, Danielle Beecroft through the line, the first rider in our women's field here with a time of 5:57. We'll see how long that lasts here.
It's such a long track.
That right, 5:57. I mean,
So
the
long.
last World Cup, you guys were, was that like 3:20s, something like that, 3:14s?
For sure. Here's the technical section. There's a couple of different lines here. You see Danielle is going to go down this inside, have a left-hand turn. So some riders that go high, trying to straighten this out, and then get back into that next right-hander.
So the young Canadian Lily Boucher here, an opportunity to rub elbows with some of the greats. Let's see how she does.
She is so young. Like, we saw her in the 15-16 category just last year in Crankworx Rotorua. It's just crazy, like so many women coming up, especially in Canada.
Definitely a hotbed for talent the last 20 years and plus, but yeah, the women's movement is alive and well in Canada.
And it looks like maybe Danielle had some trouble up at the top. Lily 11 seconds ahead. This is that high line I was talking about. Making up another second of that next split.
I mean, substantial lead here, so it's going to be really interesting. You know, just our second racer to take to the course with some big names coming. And you never know until you see those top riders drop. If this is, you know, a run that's going to stick around for a little while, especially with young talent too, you know, maybe they're just on a tear right now with progression. So through the line, Lily Boucher very much in the lead by over 12 seconds. Impressive ride from Lily.
Just love it. I feel like I would be dead after that run. Lily's like, yeah, we're gonna do another one, or?
So a lot different bike setups than we saw yesterday for the dual slalom. We're looking at long travel bikes right here. That's a RockShox Boxer, 180 to 200 millimeters of front travel. We're into the big bikes now, and this course definitely demands it. It'll push those bikes to the limit. We see that technical section, but there's also some big airs out there. And suspension also helping a lot with traction. The setup is key. So much experimentation going on during practice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of a balance. Like you see Camila there, like almost kind of going over that berm. It's such a balance to say like, okay, I need to get hyped up for my run, but then you do that and you almost go over the berm. But I think for Lily, it doesn't really matter. 14 seconds up.
Yeah. So Cami Noguera, we're talking about bike setup a little bit. Her bike setup is going to be quite different here today than she had 2 weekends ago at Proving Grounds, where it's a free ride competition. She took the wins. It was all about really stiff, a lot of compression, a lot of air pressure, heavy coils, and then here it's all about trying to find that balance of traction, but travel that you're not going to be bottomed out in the first corner.
Yeah, totally. I watched Cami's run, and I would have to have her tow me into everything. Like all those jumps are huge.
She was out there riding so confident. Looking good here in our Sun Peaks downhill. Let's take a look at what the time is.
I'm sorry, 16 seconds.
Come on. We hear our on-site announcer, Derek Foose, there, giving us the official time. 16 seconds in the lead. So this is not typically what we see in downhill. Usually we're looking at, oh, a rider went into the lead by a second. So we are ramping things up at a pretty progressive rate here. Take a look back at some replays. Here we are in the tech section, Elliott.
Yeah, we saw Cami go highest out of everyone, kind of trying to find some smooth line. That's going to let her get a little bit lower in that next left and then carry speed. This is the right that we just saw, the split time. So it's really about linking corners here. You never want to kind of tighten up too much because you're going to have to brake and then try to pedal to get back up to speed.
Well, we obviously don't get to see the whole track, but that one section you're able to pick out right there. You know, she took that rider's right. Highline was able to enter higher into that left-hander and, you know, just may have accounted for a little bit of that 14 seconds, but it was definitely a cumulative reaction to a great run. Now, Kylie Stewart, another Canadian on course. Let's see if she has what it takes to take out Cami Noguera's smashing time.
Yeah, she's another one of those Canadians that been riding since she was 12. She does a lot of coaching in this area, just has this really amazing passion for riding downhill. You see her just like hopping through, really making it look smooth, easy, getting on the pedals. I was talking to a lot of the riders here, and you don't see them pedaling, but it's kind of like on the edge of do I tuck, do I pump? So I think we'll see some really good pedals out of that turn, and then maybe some
going low there.
I think you tell us today.
So let's take a look here at our swatch split time.
Looks really smooth. Good gear out of there, pedaling to the finish. You're so dead at this point.
After 5 minutes and 38 seconds of riding, your hands are going to be feeling it, your whole body, your legs especially going to be feeling it.
Oh my god, it's so tiring. We made it. We have one day of rest.
Yeah, such a packed schedule for all the competitors out here on this stop 2 of the Crankworx World Tour. Let's take a look back at some moments from that run.
And so what you're gonna see them do is just try to take this inside there. And so the difference is it's gonna be a lot more direct line rather than that outside, but you have to deal, like, this is a lot smoother, probably gonna set you up a little bit better. This inside though, more direct, try to shave off time. It's always a trade-off between distance, speed, and the riders kind of have to make that choice. And it's sometimes a more personal one. There's a rock that you went in underneath there on that inside that's a little bit smoother for that left-hand turn.
Well, some of those tech sections we're able to see on our course preview as well, that you can come in with a plan, you know where you want to be, but there's some improvisation that takes place in the middle of any trail ride. Anybody out there watching can relate to that, but especially in the context of a race run, when you're just trying to absolutely be as flawless as you possibly can, and as soon as you make a little bit mistake, you're not on the line that you prepped for, but you're gonna have to make the most of it.
Totally, yeah, like it's always about being, when you walk the track and do your practice, you pick out every rock that you can, try to memorize as much as you can, and try to be inch perfect, but it doesn't always work out that way.
All right, well, another youngster out of Canada, Emmy Lance. She's been strong so far here at Sun Peaks. An opportunity to make waves in the downhill.
It was great to see her on the World Cup circuit this year. And I mentioned how many fast juniors there are, that junior World Cup category. You see like 15 junior women in there, which is just incredible. Shows the level of the sport, and especially the women's category. Really putting in the power on this pedal. For Emmy, she's definitely a smaller rider, so you wanting to kind of use that to her advantage. She can float over some of the holes and really try to make up time on some of the looser sections, some of the turns, and then maybe just put as much power as she can down on the pedals, but want to be fast in those technical sections.
So Emmy Lance close considering the gaps that we've seen so far. 4 seconds back. Emmy Lance slides into second place. So Harriet Burbridge Smith, obviously so many different disciplines out here. It's about making that connection between your bike and your body just seem seamless. We caught up with her and she had this to say.
Yeah, I think the first few years when I moved from BMX to mountain biking, I was more working against the bike and was just like thought that suspension and like all this stuff was just something that I had to deal with, whereas now it's like that's a part of how I can go faster and how I can make things like better for myself. So I feel like I've worked out, I just feel like at home on the bike now and properly like I'm using a mountain bike like how it's supposed to be used.
Can you imagine coming from BMX, especially, you know, not just coming from BMX and then only competing in something like pump track, coming from BMX and then diving headfirst into the realm of downhill racing, free ride competitions like Harriet Burbridge Smith has done. It's such a different world.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up riding dirt jumps, and I remember my first time on a downhill bike, like she was saying, the suspension feels like an enemy. And then she mentions kind of being able to use it, like thinking about it as a tool rather than an impediment like it would be on a BMX bike.
So Harriet Burbridge Smith, we just heard from her. Now we see her in the gate. She's got that upside down number plate right there. A little bit of embracing of the superstition. Yeah. Currently sitting in second in the Queen of Crankworx rankings behind Via Berbich. So she's looking for some points. Look at that big float off the bonsai.
I know. I mean, I was talking to her. She said that formation was one of her first downhill bike events. So imagine going out to Utah and hucking off of these cliffs when you first get on a downhill bike.
Yeah, that is as far away from BMX as you can possibly get. It's not flat, it's not racing, it's cliffs, it's steep. So that kind of cross training definitely helps her for moments like this when there's technical sections on the course.
Yeah, you can see her really, like she was talking about, like moving with the bike, not panicking if she gets inside. Oh, she got inside there, actually.
Obviously issues here for Harriet, 33 seconds back right now, so perhaps maybe a crash off camera. But we get to just watch her enjoy riding her bike right now.
Yeah, totally. That upper section, we saw that in the course preview. Like, we saw Tegan get a little bit wild on some of that stuff.
Getting on
so
the
many
gas, taking
different
the inside line on that corner and hard on the pedals. Let's see, was it enough? No, Harriet
issues for
Burbridge
Haz,
looking like
35
she must have had
seconds
some kind
back.
of incident up on track, and she's 35
Cammy
seconds
getting cozy in that hot seat. I like that hot seat too. A ski lift, that's something that you're going to be cozy in if you're a downhill mountain bike racer anyways.
Yeah, it was great.
It's a hot seat. That's probably like perfect weather out here right now.
All right, so always a contender in our Queen overall standings. Third place in slalom yesterday, Keelani Hines on course.
Yeah, she's got the Assegai in the front and that Minion DHR2 in the back, running 23. So that's pretty standard. Women will run a little bit less than men just because they're a little bit lighter, but you kind of want to just choose a tire pressure that you feel comfortable with. It's so much personal preference. So if you're hitting turns like this and you feel your tires start to roll, then go up a little bit, chatters around, go down a little bit. That's what practice is for.
So it was actually 4th place in slalom yesterday and 5th in the downhill. So no podiums yet here at Sun Peaks for Keelani. 6 seconds back at the split.
Yeah, and we saw Keelani get a little bit creative there with a different line. She's back up in the Pacific Northwest, and she said that she's been racing a lot of slalom this year and kind of getting back to her downhill roots, I think, a bit.
So where will that slaughter still sitting in podium contention right now with 4 riders to go. So Keelani Hines 7.2 back. Cammy Nogueira still safe.
Here's that line that we were talking about. Just see her coming in, setting up much higher, being able to make this turn over the top of the rock, get set up again for that next right-hand turn. Kind of tell like how much flow the riders have in these sections, kind of comfort they have, and seeing if they can get off the brakes early.
So Robin Gooms taken to the downhill course right now. She's been making waves in that women's freeride movement, doing backflips, backflip variations. She was out at Audi 9s doing backflip variations. We started doing backflips in speed and style in Innsbruck.
I couldn't believe that. Like, that jump was huge. And she's up. It's so amazing to see how multi-talented all of these women are. I think in the women's field, it's you see people racing and she's tucking there. They can do everything. It's really, really cool to see.
So Gooms 3 seconds ahead at the Swatch split.
And that was that inside. Lost a tiny bit of time, but you know, like we mentioned, it's less about the lines and more about how you can ride them.
Yeah, the fast line for one rider may be the slow line for another, right?
Definitely.
Here we go. We got the countdown here with the finish line in sight. Looks like she's going to go on the lead by how much? 3.4 ahead of Cammy Nogueira. Robin Gooms goes into the lead. Still enough energy for some skids.
Fishtailing through into the sign. Yeah. This track. I'm going to take a look at some of her body language here. I think what you're kind of looking for always is, see there, her hips are going straight, but she actually moved the bars to the left of that sign. She didn't want to get offline and lose any speed, so you just tilt the bike over, no worries.
So Robin Gooms in the lead right now, but Gracie Hemstreet, who's absolutely been on a tear from the Sunshine Coast, 3rd place at Junior Worlds, and if I were Robin Gooms right now, I'd get comfortable in that hot seat, but not secure. You know,
yeah,
this could shake things up.
Gracie just like steezy off that first bit, 10 seconds out. Like she looked so good, like just playing with her bike. I think for all the riders who were at this last kind of World Cup, coming here, it feels good. Right, like you get into the starting gate, the track's not super gnarly, but you've got your bike set up all year. I think that's one of the things that for the downhill racers here, they've just comfortable with their bikes. They've been riding them all year. And she is just flying. Able to not even have to pedal up that little rise like we've seen some of the other women do.
So the BC girl, strong run, going into the lead by 13.6 seconds. She is on a tear right now.
Yeah, that was such a masterclass in how to kind of pump, use the terrain to your advantage.
I mean, you see the BC girl smashing the time right now, but you know what? It's not just, she's successful out in Europe as well. Like, this could really be somebody we see as a rising star.
Yeah, she just makes it look so easy. Like, she's going so fast, but she's going fast because she's just not touching the brakes. It sounds simple, but you can actually save a lot of energy by just letting the bike do the work.
Yeah, saying don't hit the brakes, that's all you got. It's like, darts are easy. You just hit the thing in the middle.
You know, if you go faster than everyone, you just kind of win the race.
Simple concept. Gracie, congratulations on rolling into the lead right now. I think we have 3 more racers to go, so you're sitting pretty good. You absolutely smashed that time. I know you're from Seychelles, but have you come over here to ride Sun Peaks, and are you familiar with this trail before today?
No, I raced here in 2019, but that's about it.
So looking at your competition that you have, who are you most worried about still yet to come down the hill?
Both of them.
Well, congratulations. You did your job. You put a huge lead on the rest of the field with a couple riders left to go. So now you just get to sit back and wait. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
So cool under pressure. You know, it takes a little while to be cool under pressure typically, but the youngster there has it figured out seemingly, and it's going to be really interesting to see if our more veteran competitors are going to be able to have what it takes to knock her out of that hot seat.
Yeah, man, I would be freaking out coming to the hot seat at Crankworx.
So here it is, just 2 more competitors left, and gosh, the next one, Casey Brown. Now Casey can do absolutely anything, and downhill is categorized as anything. She, it turns out, is always a contender, especially at parks like this where she's super familiar with the terrain. Here we go, Casey Brown on course, Elliott.
Yeah, man, she's got to be one of the most busy women in all of mountain biking, holding her own events. Kind of see that same style. We just see her kind of diving into the turns, getting a lot of pump. I think one of the things you want to avoid, only 0.2 back.
Whoa. Yes, so Casey well within reach. 0.2 is the blink of an eye right here. Casey was only half a second back yesterday in the air downhill, so she knows how close she was. So this is an opportunity for redemption. You know, when you're that close in a race, you just think back to all those moments where you could have just gained something. So, oh, look at that, 0.6 now, Elliott.
Yeah, definitely. Gracie hit that technical bit so good, made up a little bit of time on Casey there. I know she was super fast here. And it all comes down to this pedal.
Oh, wow. She's looking at her pedal there. So podium perfect so far here at Sun Peaks 2021. What's it going to be? She just goes outside of the time. Gracie Hemstreet is safe. Casey Brown into second place by just over a second. No way.
She's like, whoa. Okay, yeah. Ticked one off there.
So Casey Brown guaranteed a podium out here, which means she's going to be taking home a lot of hardware with medals from both the events yesterday. But Gracie Hemstreet, wow, she has an opportunity to win this thing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Oh, look at her. She's like, wow.
Yes,
I guess I killed it.
You can see the little shake of the head like, did I just beat Casey Brown? So here's Casey through that technical bit. See a lot of the top women taking this inside line. Right to her right there, there's a rock that she went over. Really just trying to, I think it's really all about the exit of that next right-hand turn, which we see right there, because that's going to be your speed coming up onto this pedal. Right there, you're not really going to have to brake too much. So it's kind of like chess here. You're thinking a couple moves ahead.
Casey's so good at letting that bike dance. She's definitely one of those riders who's in touch with the bike, in touch with the terrain.
Yeah, look.
And it's been a busy couple days already. You see Casey Brown
there
with a limp. I'm not sure if that's a lingering thing or if she had an issue during the run. Let's see if we can listen. I mean, we watched her hiking up the slalom a bunch yesterday. She was not limping then. So there we go, Casey Brown into second place. Great performance, but guess what? We have another rider to go. Her name is Via Berbich, and if you're a Crankworx fan, that's a name you're very familiar with. Via, so dominant, especially the last 2 days with 2 wins, leading the Queen of Crankworx overall title, an opportunity for some more points right here in downhill. Via Berbich in the gate, Elliott.
She's been here before. Last woman down the hill. We see kind of that different tire combo running a DHF, a couple PSI higher. So she's going to be comfortable letting her tires slide a little bit. And yeah, man, she's gonna want to win this. If she can go 3 for 3, that will be put her in such a good spot for this Queen of Crankworx title.
Obviously, she's thinking about that, but trying to keep that to the back of her mind. Look at this. She's ahead in split number 1, 0.7. So Via Berbich looking to grab 3 golds from the first stop of this Crankworx B.C. summer road trip. Stop number 1 here in Sun Peaks. She's been unbeatable. We see here at the top right of our screen, the youngster Gracie Hemstreet going, oh boy, she's close.
We saw Via tucking there, but we know Gracie was super fast.
Wow.
So even though it's even now, Gracie made up about 0.7 on Casey in just this last section.
Gracie was strong down in the bottom of the course. Via Verbeek's absolutely going to have no room for error.
She's super strong on the pedals, super fit.
Oh, here we go. It's going to be so close. Via Verbeek, no way. 5,000ths of a second. She goes into the lead via Verbeek by the blink of an eye. 3 gold medals in less than a 24-hour span. Wow.
0.005? That's like a knob. That's like a tire knob.
That's why she runs those big, tall knobs in the front.
That's the PSI. The tire's just slightly bigger.
What a performance out of Gracie Hemstreet, though. So impressive. 3rd at Junior Worlds, and then she comes back on home turf and shows that it wasn't a fluke. I mean, only lost this race by 5,000ths of a second.
Yeah, that is amazing.
You're on a tier. It hurts.
Here's that technical section. Via just absolutely crushing it through here. But Gracie, I think just with all of that experience at the World Cups this year, by getting back high and then just laying down the watts at the bottom.
So great performance there out of our top 3. So impressive. You love seeing that. You know, just a game of millimeters. All right, Via, this kind of seems like deja vu. Every 2 seconds here in our trips to Sun Peaks, we got a headset on you and we were talking about another gold medal. Was this the hardest one yet?
Honestly, the energy level just keeps going down and the demanding racing is just going up. So it was hard. Yeah, it was hard. My arm still hurts so much.
So I would imagine that's a long run, and only 5,000ths of a second separated you from Gracie Hemstreet, which is, yeah, I don't even know if you knew that yet. It's ridiculously close as you now think back to all those moments on the run. But what do you make of this youngster Gracie, like putting down such a heater?
I'm so pumped for her. Like, for some reason, she came to hug me at the end, and I was like, what did you? I just had a feeling she was leading, and she was, and I feel horrible to take it away from her for 5,000ths of a second, but. Yeah, she's killing it. I'm so happy she can race Crankworx and have a good showing amongst the other elite racers. I think that's amazing, and I'm honored to be on the same second as Gracie.
The BC talent just keeps on delivering, and you keep on delivering, so congratulations on your 3rd gold medal in the last 24 hours. And now time to maybe get a little bit of rest before we head to Kicking Horse.
A little, just like a travel afternoon. Thank you.
Right on. Congratulations,
Thanks,
Via.
guys.
Wow, man, what a race, Elliott Jackson.
That was incredible. I mean, I don't understand, like, you think about a 5-minute run, and it's pretty much a tie. Like, there's like 1,000 decisions you have to make, so many rocks, and we just see how close it is at the top.
And in fact, there it is. 0.005 separating the youngster Gracie Hemstreet from the dominant Via Verbeek, and Casey Brown continuing on with the consistency. 3 medals for her in the last day.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely interested to see if she had an injury, but we see those 3 Canadians up at the top. And then, you know, so many young women there. Kehlani Hines, Lily, Danielle Beecroft, maybe with a little bit of a mistake at the top. But the best part about this Crankworx series is you got another event and another location coming up in just a few days.
Yeah, always with Crankworx B.C. this year. It's just Plenty more coming. You don't have to wait long for the next location because we're going to hop in the cars tomorrow morning and head there. But you don't have to wait long for more racing right now either because we got the men's downhill coming up here at Sun Peaks. But also once that's over, if you haven't gotten enough Crankworx and you just can't wait the couple days until we kick things off again, make sure you go to crankworx.com. You're going to find schedules, point standings, updates on your favorite riders, and of course, results and some merch. If you're such a big Crankworx fan, you want to grab yourself a sweatshirt or a dog bowl, it's all at crankworx.com. Make sure next time you're hanging out on the internets, you go give it a visit.
I mean, I got my merch.
You got your merch.
Oh yeah.
Gotta get your
I'm a
merch.
big Crankworx guy.
Crankworx.com. That's where you find everything Crankworx. Thank you for joining us here. We got more racing coming up for you at the Sun Peaks Downhill. This bike park absolutely not only delivering so many disciplines of competition for the Crankworx Festival, but 65 kilometers of amazing trail. After these broadcasts, I'm hopping on my bike and I'm trying to ride as much of the trails here as I possibly can. I've heard so much about Sun Peaks over the years. I actually saw a deer my first run.
No.
I was riding solo. Boom, there's a deer. I'm like, I'm living right. We had a fox on course yesterday during the dual slalom. There's bears everywhere.
So much wildlife.
If you want to do a BC trip, come on, you got to think about Sun Peaks. And that's, you know, it's kind of crazy not being able to go to Whistler this year, but as it has turned out, it's great because after coming here for so many years and going to the same resort, it's nice to be able to spread our wings and check it out. Sun Peaks will be a kicking horse. Then we're going to head over to Silver Star. And the action does not stop for the next 10 days. Let's see how many medals via Berbich can collect over these 3 stops.
You could just see her being like, yeah, for sure. No, it's great.
So we spoke to Vi earlier about how busy this week is and continues to be. She had this to say. Have a listen. Well, okay, so she was saying that a lot of people kind of refer to her as a downhill rider and think, all right, that's where she's going to be doing well. But, you know, she feels like downhill's more of a weaker spot in Crankworx, and she's definitely been showing us that the last few years with such dominant performances in things like slalom and pump track. And despite what people think of her, I think she's just has molded herself into this all-arounder.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, kind of downhill, you have really specialized downhill riders. You have a Downhill World Cup series where riders like Gracie spend all of their time riding downhill and can come here and compete. But Via spends so much time kind of working on all of that stuff. She spent a ton of time working on gates. She can ride free rides. She was at formation. And so I think she is just such a all-around rider. So hard to beat in an event like this.
So I got to explain to you why I enjoy being here right now, getting out on the trails. But if you're curious what some of your familiar faces, some of those top riders are doing while they're hanging out in Sun Peaks, we got a feature for you. Take a look.
I mean, the vibe in the interior is super laid back. Totally ideal mountain bike terrain, and it is like, it's 45 minutes away from Kamloops, out of the desert and into the trees, into the alpine. You get that subalpine fir smell, and you're in this little community up atop a mountain. There's like a huge variety. There's flow trails, there's the downhill track, which is sick, and there's also, yeah, like the rugged, raw flow trails, and yeah, just a ton of variety. I mean, you just have so many good riders coming from here, and yeah, it's a different game over on this side of the mountains. Sun Peaks is sick.
Yeah, if you cruise to this area, you kind of have the ability to do it all. Kamloops being 45 minutes away, which Kamloops is such a legendary spot. And you think of Kamloops as the rolling grasslands with, you know, big cheese wedge, booters, and just ribbons of single track. But to think you can drive 45 minutes and be in this, like Casey put it there, this subalpine terrain with, you know, 65 kilometers of trails and 2,000 vert of descending.
Yeah, it's amazing. And is that what that smell is? Subalpine ferns.
You learn something new every time you talk to Casey or listen to her talk. You're like, oh, that's a thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was like, it's so funny. I got out of my car and I was like, that's the Whistler smell. That's how I always describe it.
Now we know what it's called.
Yeah.
We used to call it the Whistler smell.
Right.
All right, so the men category coming up here for the Crankworx Downhill Sun Peaks. And I don't know, man. We've seen just the dominance of that power couple, Via Verbeek and Bas van Steenberg, and Via backing it up for the women. And we're going to finish off this race with Bas van Steenbergen based on his #1 finish yesterday in the Air DH. But this is packed with familiar faces. Some of these guys you just love to see at Crankworx, like Mikey Hatterer, who's obviously going to put on a show, give us something to watch, and some youngsters too.
Yeah, Tegan, only 16 years old. Actually, not even 16. I think he's 15, turning 16.
Yeah, he's 15. He'll be 16 next week, so such a youngster. Garrett Meacham, another youngster.
Yeah, Mick. I hate to say it, but more than twice his age.
Tuhoto, dude. Wow. Ariki Penne from New Zealand just bursting on the scene because of Crankworx Rotorua, now on the World Cup. But we got to continue talking about Bas van Steenbergen because he was on a tear at the beginning of the 2020 season, obviously disrupted by pandemic. And then after Crankworx Innsbruck, he had issues, didn't deliver as much as we would expect him to have. And 8th place is where he was sitting. But, you know, he's just chipping down that gap right now with the 2 golds from yesterday and whatever he can pull off here today. So a little bit of pressure on his shoulders because he's becoming within grasp of, you know, what his main goal is finally getting that king title.
Yeah, he won in slalom, and it was watching Bas ride slalom, you know, it's just incredible. Like he just feels like he like floats around the track, pedaling so hard against a rider like Slavik, who is 4-cross world champ this year.
I don't know how it's possible to click through that many RPMs of pedaling. Like,
yeah.
I cannot relate to that personally because that's just superhuman right there.
Your legs don't go that fast.
I don't know if anybody at home tries to pedal that fast, but it's just when he's under pressure and there's thousandths of a second up for grabs, he's like every pedaling section, he's going to get more rotations in than everybody else. And I feel like just his body style on the bike, his ability to do things like yesterday when he almost missed the gate, but he had this like crazy little flick because he's so in touch with where that front tire is. And I think that's why he's able to do so well in all these different disciplines. It's just he spends so much time on his bike and the connection is just like rock solid.
It's so true. Like, kind of saw he built a little section in his back garden and he was doing all of these different rhythms. It was like kind of a step on, step off. So you saw him nose manualing the top of it, tripling, doubling. And so when a rider, I think, kind of always wonder, like, how do these riders get such good bike skill? And they just try everything, right? Like, they are always messing around, always doing flicks, always pumping, jumping, trying different gaps. And I think that's what it takes to be so well-rounded like Bas is.
The way he looks at a trail that has a section of rollers, a rhythm section, like you say, he'll see like 5 different ways of riding it where maybe you would just see jump or manual.
Yeah, right.
And that's why he did so well yesterday at the Air DH. That trail, the Steam Shovel Trail, is full of just options like that. Rhythm sections, also big jumps, also some blind sections where you don't really know where you're going. And I think the fact that he's spent so much time here, he calls Sun Peaks his favorite mountain bike park, is, you know, that's the advantage there. So it's going to be interesting to see in the downhill. The downhill is more raw and rugged and may not play to his specific skill set as well. So it's going to be like one of those salvage missions, you know. He's going to be trying to win this race, but we've got some heavy hitters out there like Mick Hanna. So whatever points Bas can salvage from here, it's all about that long game, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And we always forget, but Bas spent some time on the World Cup circuit as well. So he knows how to ride downhill. I think these kind of in-between tracks where they're more pumpy, more turny, kind of suit Bas a lot more. So it's not like he couldn't take the win.
Yeah, you know, another thing, you know, we talk about people's preferences in course type, but also the little subtle differences you'll see in the bike setup from event to event. So this being such a, you know, a real rootsy, like true to the term downhill type of course, you're going to see really long travel in the rear. Obviously, we talked about forks like the Boxer up front, 180 to 200. You're going to match that in the rear with travel in that same range. And you're talking about big knobby tires. And, you know, for those of you out there who ride a trail bike, you're thinking about how you got your 12-speed drivetrain. Not on a downhill bike, Elliott.
Yeah, no. Almost trying to get as least amount of gears as you can. So it's 7 speeds. You're really going to probably try to have your top gear be the gear that you start in, and then you're kind of just going down. And by the time you get to the finish here, you're almost in your bottom gear. But the riders going down the track, they'll have shifting points. So when they come into a turn, they know exactly what gear they're in. In practice, that's one of the things you do. You say, okay, coming out of this turn, I want to shift up 2. Coming over this roller, or maybe in the air here, I'm going to shift down. So it's all kind of timed out, and having only 7 gears makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, so many calculations when you're planning your downhill run. You don't need any more math. 12 gears,
Yeah,
2 minutes,
right.
7 speed. Speaking of calculations, we've crunched the numbers, and we do have an update to the Queen of Crankworx standings. Obviously, we're going to see Via extend her lead, but the big question has been by how much. We're going to have that graphic on screen here shortly. Via Berbich, 491 points. So that's a big gap considering second place Harriet Burbridge Smith with 304.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early. Like, anything can happen. You see that fight for second is so close, only separated by 5 points.
But look at the gap between fourth and second. I mean, we're talking about 5 points here.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And yeah, we see downhill there's injuries.
Here we go. We got our first men loaded up in the gate here. Mikey Hatterer, the showman. I'm just happy to see that he's wearing clothes today. And
That's exactly what I was going to say. Last time I saw him, he was in a Speedo at Whip-Off.
So Mikey Hatterer, he's definitely a fixture on the Crankworx World Tour. It's great to have him out here. He joined me in the booth at Proving Grounds, the free ride competition. If there's a big bike event, Mikey Hatterer is going to be there. He's going to add his name to that start list. He's kicking things off for us here in the men's field at Crankworx Downhill Sun Peaks.
Yeah, already up at that first split. He's been around forever. Like, one of the first people that I met when I first started racing downhill. I think it was probably at Sea Otter. And he's just been so fast for so long, loves riding the bike.
Well, it's funny too because he's such a character and you think, oh, well, this guy's, not actually riding fast. He's a great bike rider.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he can kind of do everything. He didn't opt for the upside down 13 plate. Didn't seem like it messed him up too much.
Confident man. Yeah, I've known Mikey. We're the same age, so we used to race the same junior categories way back when in the Norbas. And Mikey Hatterer with a time of 5:01 will at least get to hang out in that hot seat for another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh no, we got 2 minutes maybe.
Have faith. Have faith.
Well, I'm rooting for him. So Niels Bensink, see, this could be interesting. We've got Mikey Hatterer, a guy born and bred in downhill. He's been doing it his whole life, so he might be able to stay in this hot seat because the next rider up, Niels Bensink, it's his first Crankworx downhill. He comes from BMX, so Mikey, the downhill specialist, might be able to get cozy there. Somebody bring him a beer.
That's right. I saw he had a little, maybe like a Miller Lite thing on his seat post there. So.
We got Whistler Brewing sponsorship, so I'm sure there's beers floating around.
That's why I love Crankworx.
It's the best. It's a party, it's biking, it's competition. Mikey Hatterer's here. That's what's up. Here we go. Niels Bensink, we just talked about him, 24 years of age. He's definitely coming from that background of BMX. We see him killing it in pump track, and now finally putting his name on the start list for a downhill race. And right out of the gate, you can already tell he's looking cozy.
Yeah, totally. I talked to Bass. He said that Niels came and did a little training, and like you said, he's got that BMX background, so he gave Bass some tips. Kind of
close.
He's right there, like you were saying, and he gave Bass some tips on the gate, and Bass kind of gave him some tips on the flat turns.
Ah, tradesies. Niels Bensink just 0.6 behind the time of Mikey Hatterer right now, so definitely within reach, considering this is over a 5-minute course.
Yeah, and it's really all coming down.
Look at that.
It's so insane how close it is after 5 minutes of riding. So many obstacles on the track.
Niels Bensink shaving down that lead for Mikey Hatterer. He was at 0.3 at the last split. Now he's got the finish line within reach. Oh, I don't think he's going to. Look at that. 0.023. Niels Bensink goes into second place. Mikey Hatterer is safe. Yeah. Oh, how does this keep happening?
I don't know.
Out of the women's field.
I told you, Mikey's still there.
The women's
yeah,
race
Mikey.
won by 5/1000ths of a second.
It's crazy when I look at somebody, we're the same age, born the same year, and he's able to farm out such a beautiful beard. Where am I at?
Yeah, you'll grow up
Got to
soon.
work on that.
Yeah.
I know. Maybe one of these days.
See Niels taking this high line up here. Not getting quite so high right in the middle, but it does give him a little bit more. And it's interesting to see BMX riders turn. You never really see them drop the outside foot. BMX track, you have those huge berms, you don't really have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's really cool to see these rider. Oh, let's listen to Mikey.
That it slows you down like with the bumps. So if you brake at your old braking spots, you slow down way more.
You talked about those shifting spots. There's braking spots. Mikey Hatterer doesn't even need a microphone. I'm pretty sure we can hear him across the valley.
I think he's talking about, you know, kind of the track developing as well.
That's the only thing I beat you.
That'll happen.
So there's that.
Leave it all out there.
Turbo Jets, Jet Propulsion. Mikey Hatterer crediting Jet Propulsion for his lead right now. Scott Thornhill out of Canada. Is he riding a single crown? He is.
I know he's a big dirt jump guy. And this track, you know, with the parts that we see look a little bit more mellow, but I know on that trail, kind of that trail guide and track review, it's not an easy track, and it's so fast. Like the riders talk about, it's one of the fastest tracks they've ever seen.
So the choice to run the enduro bike with the single crown fork doesn't look like it's working out. Scott Thornhill 28 seconds back at the split. He could have had some issues too, but Mikey Hatterer appears to have dodged another bullet.
Mikey Hatterer going for the old W there.
Gotta love it.
You can hear just that trail bike kind of hating life out there, just getting punished on this super fast, rough track.
Isn't it funny, like, you think about, all right, he's racing on a trail bike right now. Wow, that's crazy, you know? But, like, a lot of us just go ride these trails on a trail bike, you know? The difference between having a downhill bike and trying to ride this trail on a trail bike at race speed is substantial. But it's cool. Run what you brung. If that's what you got today and it's downhill day, you know, you can come to a Crankworx with just one bike if you choose that bike wisely and, you know, kind of just make it work for everything.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Saw Casey yesterday running the trail bike for the slalom. And here we go. Garrett Meacham out of Santa Cruz, California, a rider who grew up racing, grew up riding motocross as well, but also a heavy dirt jump background. He was actually in Innsbruck as one of the slopestyle competitors. So you see him throwing a little bit of style off of that bonsai step down.
Yeah, and he got pretty far inside there. Just this amazing bike control. I think everyone, he's 6 seconds up at the split. Like
nice.
Everyone thinks of him as a slip guy and stuff like that, but every time you see him out on the downhill track, like you, if you ride with him after the races, you're like, Garrett, what are you, why are you going so fast? Like
such a well-rounded rider, it's ridiculous. And made it to the round of 8 in slalom yesterday. And you know, there's not a slopestyle here in Sun Peaks. There is one in Silver Star at the end of the tour, so he's like, I'm not gonna just sit around and, you know, be at home jumping or wait to try to get my points back up to be on the tour. I'm gonna compete wherever I can compete, and right now, he is absolutely in the competition, 6 seconds ahead at the last split, and it's 5.8 once he crosses the line. Garrett Meacham knocks Mikey Hatterer out of that hot seat. So impressive. So you heard that right there. That's the first sub 5 minute time we've seen. 4:55 for Garrett Meacham.
Didn't work till the second road crossing.
Oh no.
It was like that really harsh turn.
it's always the little mind game you play.
First time I've ever
Mikey
done like a
Top to bottom.
Yeah, downhill
talking
race.
about
Good job, man.
maybe
Good job.
failing brakes. Were they failing? We don't
Take
know.
your seat.
So we talk so much about all these points up for grabs and the king and queen overall standings. If you're not familiar with that, what does it all mean? Take a look. So that's what's up. We crunched the numbers for the queen of Crankworx overall standings as they sit right now. Let's do the same for the men. Look at this. Not as big of a gap in the lead here as we see in the women's, is there?
Yeah, and you know, Thomas Lemoyne crushed it out in Crankworx Innsbruck. We're not seeing him today, but we do see Thomas Slavic, and that fight for second is super close.
I would say the name that jumps out to me most on that list for somebody who could really move up right now is Mick Hanna. He's sitting right there. I believe that was somewhere around the top 5 mark, and he could really grab some points today. Jackson Frew sitting down there in 10th. But take a look, we've got our next rider on course. This is going to be Forrest Rysco. Some big podium results on the BC Cup Series It's great to see him out here at Crankworx. Let's see if he can shake things up.
Yeah, he is just so fast. I talked to some of the riders. I asked them to describe Forrest, and they just said he's fast, and he runs super wide bars, 820 apparently.
You can tell just looking right here. What do you run? Just to give people a perspective.
Yeah, I run like 780 or 790. So
I'm at 780 as well, and sometimes I go, maybe I should cut these things.
Yeah, right.
Did you say 820?
820.
You even make him that big. Insane. But he must be a big guy because it doesn't even look that wide on him.
12 seconds up.
I mean, jeez. 12 seconds ahead at the split. Forrest Rysco on a tear. You can see him absolutely overpowering that bike.
I'm gonna make my bars wider now.
Yeah, this is working. Jeez. When it all was said and done, 13.3 ahead. So we're really cranking things up right now. Garrett Meacham goes into second place as Forrest Rysco dominantly crosses the finish line, 4:42.4.
Yeah, Forrest has spent a ton of time on the Downhill World Cup circuit and traveling around as a privateer a lot. Watch him come through this gnarly section here. Got a little bit, reached for that berm, and then was super high. We talked about that's
Watch this right.
Able to cut it. I think that's what that high line allows you to do, is cut down on that first left.
This right, here we go. Yeah.
And it's funny because you talk about like how smooth he looks there, and in a lot of the kind of the shred-its, you'll see people cutting turns, and then riders like Forrest just making them as smooth and as wide as they possibly can, so your wheels don't slide at all.
So Forrest, a 4:42, that's a smashing time compared to anything we've seen so far. I know you are a fixture on the BC Cup Series. How does it compare competing out here at Crankworx?
Yeah, it's fun. It's a little bit more relaxed atmosphere, so but you're just racing with all your buddies, and it's fun. It's doing all these different events. You fill up the day really well. Like, it's just riding your bike all day, so it's sick.
Yeah, if you came here for bike riding, you came to the right spot.
Yeah.
We've got plenty more race, and you know, the next couple stops, are you going to be competing at Psychosis and all the rest of the downhills?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Psychosis. I've only ridden that track a few times, but to race it's going to be a whole different story. So yeah, excited for it.
It could be a few more times than anybody else, so the fact that you have a couple laps on it will be cool. It's really great watching you come down this course, and I can't wait to see how long this time holds out. Great run with that 4:42, Forrest.
Thank you.
Congrats. All right, so we're going to take a look at the standings right now after. We're going to take a look at replay of Forrest's run right here and really try to find out where he's getting all that time from. And we won't really know how fast that is until we get guys like Mick Hanna cruising down. But anytime you see somebody go 13 seconds into the lead, you got to look at a replay of the run.
You got to try to figure it out somehow. 13 seconds is, and you know, you mentioned first time that we've seen that's really well into the 4-minute mark.
So the big question is, where did he find 13.8 seconds? We get some glimpses of the course here. Be able to just watch how aggressive Forrest is over that bike.
Yeah, and I think coming out of those turns, like, we don't really see that many many people pedal out of that first right. He's carrying a ton of speed through here. Really smooth on the bike. Hips are straight. Pushing into it.
There's a couple on these highlights that we see, there's a couple of moments where he's like actually pushing through those corners, letting some dirt fly up off of his tire. And even at the bottom of the course, still good fitness, enough to be able to be aggressive into this right-hander here.
See, look how close he is to that tree. But that's just part of it. That kind of stuff happens the whole time down the track. And what he's going to want to do is try to take this line right here, because this is going to be the smoothest bit. We saw a lot of the women here and a lot of the earlier riders, but Forrest, knowing that this is going to be the smoothest line that he can take, and it's really going to set him up for this next little turn. See, his tires are right next to the grass, and then as he comes out, that's going to let him turn down, and now, instead of being kind of pointing out this way, he's able to come and get set up, and that is really due to that line that he took to set up high on the entry to that.
Such a chain reaction. Every decision you make impacts the next few sections of trail, and you can see he was just eyes up the whole way down, being you know, being reactive to what's going on in front of him, but thinking way beyond where he is. It all made for 13.8 seconds of an advantage over the previous hot seat occupant. And Forrest, the big question is it enough to hold off the rest of the field?
Yeah, man. And it's just comfy in that hot seat. I know he saw him at Snowshoe. He wasn't feeling well, had a bit of a cold, was happy to be out there, but now it looks like he's back on the money. When he's healthy, he's one of the most fit guys ever.
So Max is doing so much to make this event possible, not only sponsoring the event, but making sure some of their riders are kitted out with the best tires they can offer. For more on that, check out this piece. Thanks to Maxxis.
Hey guys, Tegan Cruz here.
Hey, I'm Bas van Steenbergen.
Hi, I'm Keelani Hines.
Hey guys, this is Maya, and this is my Maxxis tire check for my downhill rig.
Running DHF 2.5 downhill casing in the front and Minion DHR2 2.4 downhill casing as well.
Maxxis DHF in the front and a DHR2 in the back.
On the front, I got the Assegai. It's 2.5 downhill casing. Then on the back, we got the DHR2. It's 2.4.
The Assegai in the front and a Minion DHR2 in the rear.
And I run about 28 PSI with an insert in it, and I run that one at 30.
Both tires are max grip, tubeless ready, and DH casing.
Honestly, I play with my PSI pressure. Here it's like so high speed, so I would do 26 PSI in the front, 28 in the back. Usually about 2 PSI different front and back.
It's so interesting to me, the tire choices, because that DHF, you know, Maxxis just had their 20-year anniversary for that tire, which is amazing that people are still running. It's not like they haven't come out with new tires, but for me, that was always my go-to. That combo is DHF in the front, DHR in the rear, and it just works so well. Once you find a tire that you like, you kind of just stick with it no matter what.
Way to go, Colin Bailey, right?
Yeah, man.
Right on. Like,
it is
classic,
amazing.
timeless tire.
I saw the design of that tire, and I can't imagine thinking like, yeah, if I put a knob here, I think that's going to be good. And he actually wrote it down, designed it himself, and it's still, to me, one of the best tires in the world.
Yeah, so much calculation goes into it, but it all works. And especially, you know, as mountain biking grows, you get better equipment, you get more and more trails. Trails are something that Sun Peaks Resort has no shortage of. Take a look at a screenshot from Trail Forks. All the trails you have to choose from here at Sun Peaks Resort. 2,000 feet of vertical, 65 kilometers of trail, and they zigzag just like this. All different colors of ability levels, difficulty levels. Yesterday I was riding, Alan Cook and we rode something called Smitty Steeps into Sweet One. And then, you know, once you go on Trail Forks or you come here and you ride the trails, you begin to develop the vocabulary for the trails. Right. Now you're able to talk to people in the village and they go, oh, you've ridden that? You need to ride this next. So
totally.
I've got a list of trails I want to hit later on today.
Yeah, that when I came here, I rode Route 66, and I think it's got like a ton of berms. I don't know if it's 66 berms, but I remember it just never ended, and they're all like so perfect, so flowy. This place to me was one of my favorite bike parks when I did my little BC Bikes Parks tour back in the day.
And you can see the lifts go right over, you know, the bottom of that bike across section that has some dirt jumps in as well. So I remember when I got on the lift 2 days ago, I looked down and went, oh, this is already good, you know?
Yeah.
And they told me first run, go ride Bermalade. So I rode that, and like more berms than you've ever seen on one trail, and they're all so steep as well. So you can see why Bass and Via cruise to this place so often, and all that training's been paying off.
Yeah, I think that talked to them and said they're only like 2 hours away. Feels like a long time, but for me, 2 hours does not put me in Sun Peaks. So it's definitely nice to be in BC. You have so many nice bike parks around, Silver Star, you know, going to Kicking Horse, and it's just a perfect day for some bikes.
If you're not convinced you got to come here to Sun Peaks yet, take a look at GT Local Laps with Trev.
No words. Colin Jackson crew, fellow Aussie, living in Kamloops at the moment, big step down. Super high speed section. No idea how fast we're going, but I know it's very, very fast.
Oh my god. This bit's sick.
buddy. That was sick, buddy! Whoa, this is gonna be rough by the time we race. That's your Sun Peaks downhill course. Excited to see how Jackson goes on it.
Well, there's a look at your trail. Thanks to GT for bringing us that behind the curtain look. And Forrest Rysko, the fastest man of the day on that trail so far. By how much, you ask? Well, take a look at the standings.
He's got some really nice hair. Golly. Nice
After a
beard.
helmet, too.
Maybe he had his stylist come there.
You sound jealous. So Garrett Meacham holding down the fort there, but by 13 seconds, you know, so that's going to be a big gap to fill for the rest of our field. We've got a lot of riders coming up. Dylan Crane, Tegan Cruz, the youngster, Joe Breeden, Seth Sherlock, Kirk McDowell, George Brannigan, Tuhoto Ariki Penne, Mick Hanna, Jackson Frew, and we'll finish things off with Bas van Steenbergen. So that 442, how long will it stand? We're gonna take a look again here at that technical section. You've been breaking down the line choices of that all morning.
I want to highlight some of the different decisions you can make here. We saw a couple of riders like Forrest. The trade-off that you have to make is you can carry a little bit more speed out of this, what's going to lead you here. Saw Forrest really make that decision to give up some speed in this first turn and then come back over here. So this difference here is really what you're giving up. You say, I'm going to give up a little bit of speed to go outside, or I can just go inside.
I believe this will be Dylan Crane dropping in right now. He's going to be making his line choices for the next 4+ minutes. We've seen Forrest crack that mark now, 4:42, so 14 seconds back. So that just tells us right away that run from Forrest Rysko was in fact a heater. Dylan Crane had a big crash yesterday in dual slalom, so I'm actually really glad to see him still racing here in downhill. He raced in the air DH yesterday with a quick bounce back from that crash. He's really staying high, setting up for that left-hander, just like you suggested.
Yeah, it sounds like he might have maybe had some trouble up there. I heard some spokes. I'm not sure. One of the things I thought was interesting that Dylan did.
Oh yeah, that's spokes.
was you see him just resting his hands there. You know, there's
could
holding
be
on
chain
to
off hitting the spokes, perhaps.
I see that. Yeah.
But that was the classic spoke sound. No
yeah,
mistaking that.
Every rider knows that. Yeah.
Yep. Mechanical.
This is one of those ones where you kind of come through the line, point at your bike, make sure everyone knows, can see it. Dylan doing double duty here, works for SR Sun Tour as well.
So Dylan Crane, busy week, splitting his time between work duties and race duties, hitting the ground hard. I believe that was, it was a round of 8 against Thomas Slavic yesterday. So filling his time. And here we go, Tegan Cruz, the youngster of 15 years of age, for a couple more days back up to the top. He's got the Minion DHF in the front, 24 PSI. He's running 31 in the back, so he's really going to decrease that rolling resistance, but not a lot of traction offered up with 31 PSI.
Totally, yeah, you normally don't see as big of a gap. You see maybe 24, 27. But
if you're aggressive like that and you can handle it, 35, you can handle it. Look at that, 5.5 seconds up at the split. Tegan Cruz on a heater.
Yeah, and he's been racing a lot. I asked him because he's only 15, so next year he'll be on the World Cup circuit, and you know, typically we don't see as many races done by these kind of pre-junior riders, but he's been on the.
He's extending that lead, 6.8 now.
Yeah, he's just flying. He looks like, you know, he rides so much beyond his years. Looks like he's got so much experience.
Boy. Get up to speed in that hard gear. Tegan Cruz through the line. First place by a huge margin, 7.2 ahead of Forrest Rysko. This kid is for real.
Yeah, he is no joke. Forrest is such a fast rider, and for Tegan to go that far ahead is pretty incredible.
The amount of young talent coming out of BC is absolutely ridiculous. We saw Tegan's brother last year on the Cliff Crankworx Summer Series killing it. And I saw Tegan here. I go, I know you, Luca. No, there's another one.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, this is what I was talking about, just getting a ton of good pedals in and then tucking, getting ready for your braking there. It's all about knowing when to expend energy and when not to. But he looks like he's like sped up going through here. We see him coming through these sections so fast.
So Tegan Cruz gets an A+ for that run right here. You're a high school age kid. I'm going to give you an A+. Here we go. Next rider out of the gate is going to be Joyride.
And I know he's excited to have another race. Talked to him at the World Cup in Snowshoe and found a race.
Oh, come on. He's already up by 4.2.
I think we'll just see the times just coming down. Found a random rock in qualifying at Snowshoe, made him get a flat, I guess you would say, and he was super disappointed. So to have another race, I think that middle bit, maybe he got a little bit late out of that right-hander.
So shaving off a little bit more time there, extending the lead to 4.5 seconds, and look at this, he's on fire. Oh, a little buzz in that compression.
And this is, by the time you're here, you're so tired, and you know that you just have to put in as many pedals. Joe taking the lead.
Wow. Well, it just keeps on getting crazier out here. Tegan Cruz, I don't even think he's touched that hot seat. You know, he's still
physical.
Shaking babies and kissing hands.
You hear him.
And Joyride knocks him right out of that hot seat by a convincing margin. And we've still got
the Insanity one track goes.
7 riders left.
Showing his love for it.
Come in here, see him getting super close to that tree on the left side compared to the other riders out of that right. But as soon as something like that happens, you're really just fighting every instinct to just not touch the brakes.
Don't touch the brakes, don't touch the brakes. Eyes up, look where you want to be. So Tegan Cruz, a short-lived residency in the hot seat. Joyride, congratulations on that run right there. I'm not sure if you've been conscious of the times, but you know, you smashed that by over 4 seconds. Is that kind of a similar run you had in practice, or was that, we're trying to figure out how we gauge what we're going to expect from the rest of the riders coming down. Was that a particularly good run for you, because you just smashed Tegan's time and we saw his whole run, he was on fire?
Yeah, that was actually my first full run, because it's quite a long physical track, so I want to kind of save myself for that run, because as we all know, it's a very physical week. In terms of the run, like, I just wanted to carry good momentum all the way down, be consistent. I don't feel like it was wild or loose or anything, but it was definitely smooth, clean, and it'd be interesting to see how it pans out. It wasn't amazing, but it was smooth and tidy, so sometimes that's the best, but not always. We'll soon see. Well,
I can tell by how you're catching your breath right now. You worked hard for every fraction of that 4.3 seconds, so congrats on a job well done, and yeah, let's see how long you can hang out in that hot seat.
Thank you very much. It was definitely
so good run from Joyride, your current leader. A look back at his run, Elliott.
Yeah, Joe really laid it down, and I think it's interesting. He said these top riders, they know what time is. I don't know how else to put it, where he said, yeah, sometimes it's good to have a smooth run, sometimes it's good to have a wild run. We kind of talked about that earlier today, where this track really takes a lot of precision. You're trying to avoid as many holes as you can, really pumping, trying to carry speed. So
well, it seems like he made the decision that today is not a day to conserve any energy on this track, even though it's around the 5-minute mark. So Seth Sherlock, the youngster out of Squamish, British Columbia. Downhill is absolutely his specialty. Let's see if he can shake things up.
Saw Seth in the riders area right after practice, and apparently did like a 20-foot front flip. Was surprised that he was alive after that. saw him like catching his breath mentally.
So 2.9 back. I mean, on a long track like that, especially with the gaps that we've seen, you know, he's getting to the bottom of this run. It's going to be tough to make that time up now.
Yeah, I think most of the time we're going to see made up is in the upper bits. Saw how fast and how many kind of turns, obstacles we've seen up there. This bottom bit is really about, you know, how fit are the riders? Are you still able to have a run with no mistakes and then lay down the pedals coming into the finish?
Well, Seth Sherlock, more gas in the tank for the finish sprint. He's going to be 2.3 back, so cleanly into second place right there ahead of Tegan Cruz. Isn't it funny? Like when Tegan came down and when Forrest came down, we're just blown away by how fast those runs are. And, you know, Seth Sherlock there a couple seconds faster than Tegan, but after that run we saw from Breeden, only good enough for second place.
Yeah, Breeden was on fire. These guys have raced each other in the World Cup circuit all year.
Unsure if the time's going to hold up.
See that little dirt on his elbow.
The
there.
only
That was
one,
from that
according to
huge one he had in practice. Glad he's all good.
The young downhill racers coming out of BC, it's ridiculous. You see the knuckles there between Tegan Cruz and Seth Sherlock, but through the Crankworx World Tour, we've been able to watch the trajectory of the youngster Jackson Goldstone all the way from a little tot on a run bike to now the Junior World Championship. So we're all proud to, you know, be able to say we've seen that kid since he was a little youngster, but more from BC right now. Kirk McDowell.
Definitely somewhere that he's familiar with. It was interesting. So he doesn't typically race a full World Cup season, and we had a doubleheader in snowshoe, and he was talking about just.
Ooh, look at that. 0.7 up, Kirk McDowell.
Yeah, Kirk was talking about just the intensity that World Cup racing requires. So I think he'll try to take that intensity that he found in snowshoe, bring it back here to this local BC Crankworx race, and see if he can really put down a fast time. So far, he's making it happen.
Oh, look at this, extending the lead to 1.1. And Kirk McDowell coming into this with some total knowledge.
I think
these
this
BC trails.
Be a fast one.
Look at this as the clock ticks down. He's got just a second left across that line. 1.7 ahead. Kirk McDowell goes into the lead.
So
the BC riders getting cozy. We've got first, third, fourth, and fifth, all from Canada. But the international competitors also absolutely loving this track. When George Brannigan says he loves the track, we go,
yeah,
that really tells us something. And listen to what George Brannigan had to say about our course here.
The dirt was one of the best parts, but just everything from the gradient, the way that's in the gradient of the hill, it's not too steep, it's not too flat. The way they've built it to flow with the hill, it's just fast. So I like going fast.
I would have loved to just clip that to just have the end. I like going fast. If you've ever watched George Brannigan ride a downhill bike, that's all you need to know about the man right there. I like to go fast.
You gotta watch his videos from Queenstown. He just he puts everyone else to shame. I feel like we all go there, you know, almost every year. And
you think you know the trail?
Yeah. It's just incredible to watch.
So let's see what George Brannigan can teach us about this trail here. George Brannigan doing his thing.
Approaching 2.
George is one of those riders that is just so good at turns.
I love how early we get these first splits right here. I'm anticipating this. Okay, I was not expecting that. So Kirk McDowell obviously slaying because George Brannigan isn't close to touching that time.
Yeah, often a tuck a lot there. See if he can make up a little bit of time in this gnarlier bit. And it is just about carrying speed down here, losing a little bit more time.
He was only a half second back at split number 1, so I mean one little mistake can kind of be a chain reaction that'll lead you 6, 7 seconds back. Let's see what the story will be as he crosses the line. 7.5 seconds back, good enough for 5th place.
And Kirk is no slouch. Kirk is so fast. Was the national champ. Wins these BC Cups. Top 20 at the last World Cup.
Great to have Kirk McDowell out here on the Crankworx BC leg of our World Tour. And no big surprises here seeing Kirk McDowell in that top spot.
So I'm going to take a look at George's body position here. And you can just see him kind of telegraphing where he wants the bike to go by his hips. So he's always trying to turn the bike with his hips. Make sure he's looking where he wants to go, looking ahead. So much about kind of the way that you're turning the bike with your lower body. George is so good at that.
There we go. You gotta love the tribute. Stevie Smith there, hashtag long live chainsaw. Kirk McDowell flying the flag for Canada, hanging out in that hot seat. But 4 riders to go, representing New Zealand, Australia, and Canada. We'll be finishing things off with Bas van Steenbergen, but right now, it's gonna be all about our breakout talent, the Kiwi, Tuhoto Ariki-Pene, and it's been so fun to watch him come from, you know, riding in Rotorua, competing at our Crankworx event in Rotorua, and now just kind of catapulting and realizing he has what it takes to really compete on the world stage.
Yeah, riding for that union team, and I think it was interesting, like when you go and travel on the World Cup circuit for the first year, it's just like, it's a dream come true. I think Toto just like having so much fun, got that good result at Worlds and was like, like I can totally do this, and just kept improving and improving and improving throughout the rest of the year.
The youngster out of New Zealand on course here, Crankworx BC, Sun Peaks downhill.
Really hitting that first turn hard.
I'm really looking forward to this first split here to see if Tuhoto's on pace. 6.2 back.
And I know Tuhoto's super good at pumping, but you know, Kirk is really, really fit. I think this is a lot of fitness track. You see it pumping, tucking those elbows in, so it's always on the fast bits. You're just trying to get small. Love hearing that sound.
I know, we got some great microphones on course, and I mean, hearing that makes you want to ride. I want to ride. Look at that. You're seeing them compress so much more in that hole now as we see faster and faster riders taking to this course. So Tuhoto's going to be outside of the top 5. Kirk McDowell now with just 3 riders left to go. Only one more bullet to dodge to secure himself a medal here at Sun Peaks. You wonder why you see so much talent coming out of BC. It's because you got a lot of camaraderie. The youngster, the vet, sharing intel. You know, it is cool to see that hashtag long live chainsaw sticker on Kirk's bike, because, you know, for so long, you didn't see BC talent really smashing the World Cup, you know, Canadian talent smashing the World Cup, and then came Stevie, and it was just reminding the world that, you know, they got some mountains out there, and they got some chairlifts taking the bikes up to the top, and he kind of just opened up the door for so many more talented riders to burst onto the scene, showed that it was possible, really.
Yeah, it's really amazing. See Tuhoto's run. I wanted to take a look at this first turn. So I think what happened here is he was a little bit late in the turn. You really want to be off the brakes around right there. And Tuhoto, when that happens, when you aren't able to get off the brakes, you'll see him not be able to pedal too much out of this turn, really kind of fighting not to go over the top. So if he was able to get off the brakes, you kind of want to brake early, but it's always difficult when you have a turn or an obstacle right out of the gate because you're so pumped up trying to brake late into the turns, but that speed out of that right-hander is what we're gonna see riders carry all the way down that super, super fast section.
That transition from out of the gate, all right, you're just thinking about sprinting, getting up to speed, to like, oh, I have enough for this corner now, I better start thinking about cornering.
Yeah, I don't want to brake, but I have to.
Yeah, oh no, did one today, yeah.
Oh boy, all right. Take a look at who we have next here, Elliott Jackson. If you follow downhill racing, there's not a chance you don't know this guy. Mick Hanna about ready to take to the course. This could really change the standings. Here we go.
Yeah, if there's a track that I would expect Mick to do well at, it would be a track like this. So physical, so pumpy, so fast. And he is not scared of the speed at all.
Within reach of the King standings as well. So this being his bread and butter, got to seize this moment. 4.7 back already for Mick.
It shows just how good Kirk's run is. But I think for Mick, Mick's one of those riders that can make up so much time if there's anything physical sitting down there. You mentioned that this track is so fun. It's so fun to ride. I think as we see these riders come down here, one of the other things we kind of look for is just like the ebb and flow of how much they carry speed into the turns and then out.
So obviously not going to go into the lead, but yeah, we're just curious where it would slot him. So 5th place, you know, there's points for 5th, obviously. But Mick Hanna, 6.5 back. And like you say, Elliott, it just really points a finger at how fast that run was from the Canadian Kirk McDowell.
Cheers, man. Good
So,
one.
Kirk, there you go. Congratulating Mick on a run right there. 6.5 seconds behind you. Anytime you're 6.5 seconds ahead of Mick Hanna, you know you did your job well. Explain to me that run, and did you leave it all out there for that lap?
Yeah, I think I did. There was times where like I was saying to these guys, I made small mistakes, but I think it's easier to push too much on that track and than it is to just, you know, keep it smooth and carry speed. So pretty happy with it.
Well, you played your cards right, and I got to take this opportunity to say thanks for the trail recommendations yesterday. Those were killer.
Oh, yeah.
Right on, Kirk. Good job on your run out there. We got Jackson Frew on course right now, so we're going to let you go, and hopefully you're still in that hot seat, buddy. Jackson Frew on course now, Elliott.
Cheers.
We saw Jackson in that course preview, how fast he was hitting the turns, so I'm interested to see his time.
Well, Kirk McDowell checking in with Cam and Elliott. As he is guaranteed a medal.
All right, so Kirk McDowell saying that you kind of got to just pick those moments. Is this one where I got to really just pull out all the stops and risk mistakes, or do I have to kind of keep it within that comfort zone? And that's a tough decision to make sometimes, but it seems like he made all the right decisions. And Jackson Frew warming up the legs. Second to last rider on course. Here we go.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, just those turns. So when you hear Kirk talking about easy to push too hard, that was kind of what we highlighted with Tehodo. You end up, if you push too hard, you might break legs, you might pull out a turn, you might do something that is, you're trying to gain speed, but you lose traction.
Oh, man. Jackson Frew, no stranger to Sun Peaks, and putting some local knowledge to the test right now. 1.6 seconds up.
Jackson was Connor Fearon's teammate for a long time, and both of them just so good in the turns. You just see them let off the brakes, just railing the turns.
1.4 up, Jackson Frew. I mean, Kirk McDowell made all the right decisions based on who had gone ahead of him, but right now Jackson Frew looks like he's letting it loose a little bit more, and it pays off. 1.1 ahead of Kirk McDowell. Jackson Frew in the lead with one rider left to go.
By 1.15.
What a great run. He'll be stoked with that. And tired.
Good one, buddy. Yeah, boy. Down guaranteed a medal, as is Jackson. What color will it be? Well, only batsman Steve Bergen. So how to say it now. Jackson Frew doing his part.
So Kirk and Jackson hitting the knuckles right there, knowing that they're both going to be taking away some hardware from this race. Let's look back at our fastest run of the day so far from Jackson Frew. What do you think, putting some of that local knowledge to the test? It worked for Bass yesterday in the Air DH, and Jackson Frew, we saw in our GT piece earlier, spends a lot of time here at Sun Peaks.
Yeah, and look at these turns, just like so committed, diving into them. Like that just is so, it's so wild. I think that's kind of what it takes to go fast here, is letting off the brakes early and then committing to, you know, not touch them, committing to your turn. Because a lot of the turns here, like this one, you know, you see him jumping, trying to get set up there, and really just letting the bike do the work.
So Jackson, congratulations on that run. We're kind of watching the replay right now, and it looks like you were pushing pretty hard on that lap, and I am kind of curious. It sounds like you spent a lot of time here, so how much does the local trail knowledge play into that run? Obviously, physically, you have to have the stamina to go for it, but how much does that knowledge play into that?
I think it was a big help in practice, especially when it was pretty muddy. I didn't really have to worry too much about learning my lines. I haven't really ridden this track too much, but I sort of knew that I needed to be a bit more careful at the bottom because it was pretty loose, but just pumped to put a good run down and feel good on my bike, and man, feels really cool.
So guaranteed at least a second place here. We got Bas van Steenbergen about to drop in. Congratulations there, Jackson Frew, on a job well done. With one more rider left to go. He's the guy who's leading the King of Crankworx right now with 293 points. His name's Bas van Steenbergen, and he's on course.
Man, if you guys don't know who Bas is, he's Via's boyfriend. You know, we got Via there. And
should we just call him Via's boyfriend from now on? On course, Via's boyfriend. He's 3.1 back, and we talked about it earlier. The Air DH yesterday, that is more up his alley. That is his kind of course. So he's on a salvage mission right now, but he's close considering that, you know, you wouldn't typically expect him to be right up there with these guys on a burly, rocky downhill track like that. He's been doing his work.
And he's still right in touch with third. He's, you know, right around where we see these World Cup downhill riders. Everyone that's ahead of him is regular on the World Cup series, so.
God, he makes bike riding look good, doesn't he? So Bas van Steenbergen thinking about the points right now. The wind just slipped through his fingers, but where is he going to be on that leaderboard? Into 4th place. Now that's an insanely good performance. But we got to say congratulations to Jackson Frew for taking the win. Kirk McDowell holding on to that 2nd place right there.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Oh, hell yeah, nice work.
That's got to feel good.
Great job for Bas, too, though, because, I mean, you look at the lead for the Queen of Crankworx, and Via's out by a mile, but Bas actually has no room for error right now. So putting down a 4th place and getting those points is exactly what he needed to do today.
And really beat everyone else that he needed to.
Yeah.
No one else that's in front of him can really challenge him there.
So Jackson Frew was actually in. Hey, Jackson, how's it going? Seems like we're just chatting
pretty good
with you.
now.
Even better than we were just talking. So we were looking at the King of Crankworx title hunt. You were 10th, so obviously taking 1st place points, working your way up the ladder here, so that's good to see. And I'm expecting we're going to be able to see you dropping into a whole lot more racing here in the next 9 days, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think I hadn't planned to do speed and style, but you know, maybe topping the points up there with a good win, maybe I'll have to throw my name in the ring and really commit to going all out for this week.
Please do it.
Yeah.
Can we just put the pressure on you right now? Can you just promise us you're going to do speed and style?
Yeah, look, maybe we work on it. I don't really have much of the style side of it, but I'll try and give Bas a run for his money in the speed bit, and we'll go from there.
Bas has done well in the past with doing 1-footers and 1-handers, so if you're fast enough, you can make it work. And you proved today you're absolutely fast enough. Winner of the Sun Peaks Downhill. Congratulations, Jackson.
Thanks, guys. That feels really good.
All right, Elliott, so what a run. We kind of had everything coming at us so fast. We haven't had a great chance to digest a replay of this, so let's do just that.
Yeah, Jackson, I think he was almost just noticeably faster in all the turns.
I mean, airing into that right-hander, like the level of commitment. And see, you talk so much about that technical section. He just like hopped into that rider's right outside line.
Feels like a little bit of that local knowledge like you were talking about. That line that he took in the technical section is definitely one that you would find after a decent amount of runs, just knowing exactly where those rocks are, everything that's going to hang you up, and exactly where you need to be.
That's the run you want to watch when you're about ready to go out riding, because that's a guy who's feeling good on his bike right there. When you're hopping from line to line, you're absolutely hitting all of your marks. You go into the lead. 4:27 was the time, which is ridiculous considering at the start of the day we were not seeing anybody crack the 5-minute mark. So congrats to Jackson Frew. Kirk McDowell in 2nd place right there. And then as we roll down the list, we see, you know, Forrest Reiskow, who went into the lead by 14 seconds, still holding on for a top 10 finish.
Yeah, it was great to see Tegan Cruz up there, mixing it up with the big boys.
Absolutely. I mean, the future is bright for that youngster, and the future is bright for the rest of this tour. to think that we're actually going to be able to have Mount 7 psychosis as a part of Crankworx B.C. If people aren't familiar with that, tell me about that race.
Well, I just remember us talking about it last year. I remember seeing that video of Finn come down the hill straight at us and then going through the tape. It was crazy, right? Like, I don't think there's any race, especially right at the beginning, where you drop in and you just can't stop. You're on the brakes as hard as you can, and 13 minutes of just gnarly downhill.
Yeah, so sub 5 minute times in this race. Imagine triple that, which is absolutely insane. You see how tired all the riders are. One rider's got to be tired because he's done 3 races in the last 24 hours, is Bas van Steenbergen. Hey, Bas, what up?
How's it going?
It's going good, man. How do you balance just the schedule doing this? You had great practice during the Cliff Crankworx Summer Series last year, but walk me through what your next couple days are going to be like in preparation for the next event.
Well, I'll try to chill out as much as I can. I'm cooked right now. Like, I came across that first ski run section and my arms were already pumped up, so I was struggling. Yeah, I don't know. Just recover as much as I can, and then we'll see how things go in Golden.
It's got to be nice being close. I'd imagine you're going to cruise back home tonight and be able to kind of rest and relax in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, that is such a luxury that I'm not used to having. Yeah, I can't wait to sleep in my own bed and cruise out tomorrow morning, make a coffee at home. That sounds like the dream right now.
Make it extra strong. I know you and your brother are all about your espresso machines. So
both of ours are broken right now, actually, unfortunately.
Oh, I was going to say I was going to drive to your house in the morning for coffee, but scrap that.
Yeah, maybe don't do that.
I'll leave you be. I'll let you get your rest. Congratulations on getting some more points out here today, Bas. And we'll see you for the next time we hear beep, 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 beep. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
All right, later.
Later.
I heard Bas drinks a lot of pickle juice to recover.
Stop. Are you serious?
No, I don't know.
I'm going to drive to his house in the morning for pickle juice. There we have it. Bas van Steenbergen extends his lead, doesn't take the race win, but extends his lead to the king of Crankworx overall. You see Thomas Lemoyne in second place there with 210 points. Obviously, he's not doing the racing. He earned a lot of points in Innsbruck, but we will see him for slope style at Silver Star. But Mick Hanna, 206, hanging out in third place right there. So that is a guy that I think about, you know, when we're talking about Mount 7 psychosis, somebody who can get some points there and continue to just shimmy up that ladder. And I'm really excited to hear Jackson Frew already, after taking that win and getting some more points, thinking maybe I'll do speed and style.
Yeah, I love it when that happens. I remember that same kind of scenario with Mitch Rapalato when he won King of Crankworx. Everyone was like, oh, you're going to race slalom or speed and style? He's like, no. And it was like, if you race, you might win.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, but it's tight. It's tight. We saw, like, you know, from second to fifth, there's only a 10-point gap. And, you know, Bas is way out in front, but we have a ton of racing left, and anything can happen.
I always like putting people on the spot. We did that to Fabio Widmer a couple years ago. He said he was going to race speed and style in Whistler, and he didn't do it. So come on, Jackson, do it up. So that's the king of Crankworx overall hunt right there. Let's take a look at what the queen of Crankworx overall looks like. Take a look at that gap between first and second, Elliott.
I know. Bas and Vaya are just on one, but, you know, that second place spot is right there, and yeah, I really, now after seeing the World Cup season, I feel like anything can happen in downhill racing and slalom racing, and there are so many events, and everyone is tired. Mistakes can happen, crashes can happen, so I think it'll be about Bas and Vaya really using their experience to their advantage, saying how hard do I need to go, what place do I need to get in this slalom or downhill race, and not going too hard or making a big mistake that could cost them the title.
So there we go. All the racers kind of digesting the day via Berbich, extending that lead for Queen of Crankworx. And what a day of racing. 2 days back to back. We're going to see you in a few more days. We're going to be going over to Kicking Horse Resort. And we're going to spend our time wisely here in Sun Peaks. We're going to get some laps and really soak up the opportunity to be here. I would urge all of you out there who enjoyed the racing today to not only join us in Kicking Horse live on Red Bull TV, but if you're planning a BC vacation, consider Sun Peaks Resort. The crew has done a fantastic job building the trails here. I can guarantee you will love it. So thanks to all of the volunteers who are out here working hard days to make this possible. Big thanks to all the sponsors, SRAM, Maxis, everybody involved with absolutely, you know, doing something that doesn't get done very much in 2021, and that is putting on world-class events.
Yeah, it's so amazing just the amount of work that goes into it, the amount of preparation, not just for the athletes, but for the whole Crankworx staff.
Cliff Bar, RockShox, Specialized, Pink Bike, Tidal, GT, Swatch, Pivot, Elliott 7 Mesh, Camelback, Crankworx, Whistler Brewing, and hey y'all, we got to thank you so much for kicking down, believing in the sport of mountain biking, and inspiring those out there watching. And speaking of those out there watching, thanks for joining us. I've been your host, Cam McCall, alongside Elliott Jackson. We will see you for more on Red Bull TV when we go live from Kicking Horse in just a couple days' time. Thanks a lot. Go ride your bike, would you?
Get out there.
Go ride your bike. Get out of here. Go on, get.